Happy Saturday, everyone, and welcome to The Wingy. That's right. We're shortening up this podcast. I was never really a fan of the Winged Eagle podcast name anyway. I just named this show after my favorite title belt because all of the other cool wrestling terms were already taken for podcasts. But as we've gone through the last 5 years here, I've kind of shortened this podcast to The Wingy. That's what I call it. And so I started thinking to myself, let's start calling it The Wingy. Let's retire the old Winged Eagle podcast. Every Saturday now, it's going to be The Wingy. More streamlined, just version of this podcast. At the end of the day, it's going to be the same show. We're going to be talking about wrestling news, results, pay-per-view builds, things like that, just like every Saturday here. But I just wanted to kind of give a fresh little new look, facelift, and it's kind of still in construction. I'll have a new intro by next week. Also, I'll probably have a new overlay by then. And I'm still tinkering with the logo a little bit. So it's kind of this is like a prototype. This is like a pilot episode of what the new podcast will look like going forward with a few tiny changes here and there because it's a new year and it's a new era in pro wrestling. This week marked big things for AEW and WWE as AEW began their streaming on Max on Wednesday. And 2 days from today, on Monday night, it's a big one on Netflix, Raw, humongous show with a loaded card. We will be here to watch that together on Monday night. The link is already up on the channel right now, so go over to the latest content tab and save that and get ready to join us for a fucking party in here on Monday night. I am ready for that. I wasn't even sure if we were going to do a podcast today because we were up here on Wednesday watching Fight for the Fallen together, and we did a little post-show podcast on Wednesday as well where we talked about a lot of WWE stuff, but we didn't touch on everything, and then we had some big news going down yesterday. We had Wrestle Kingdom 19 last night. We have Wrestle Dynasty tonight. We had Tiffany Stratton cashing in her Money in the Bank briefcase and winning the championship last night on SmackDown. And big news involving the WWE Royal Rumble in 2026. It is confirmed for Saudi Arabia. Yikes. We also didn't really touch much on Cope, Adam Copeland's new name on Wednesday night, as well as Jeff Jarrett's big retirement fake announcement where he announced that he signed a new AEW deal and he is targeting the AEW championship. So I figured between all of that stuff, we should probably pop in here today and do a podcast on this glorious Saturday if we can. So thank you so much for being here, guys. Happy weekend to you. And I hope you're having a good one. We got a lot going on this weekend as well. Not only are we going to be here Monday night watching Raw on Netflix's debut, we're going to be here tomorrow watching WCW Sold Out 1998. I was going to start kicking in the Royal Rumble watch-alongs tomorrow, but it's early January still, and we did talk about this with the listeners and the subscribers a couple of weeks ago, Sold Out 98. So that is the pay-per-view we're going to be watching tomorrow, which will be going head-to-head, with my beloved Detroit Lions taking on the Minnesota Vikings for the whole goddamn ball of wax. So we will be watching Sold Out tomorrow as we eyeball the football game. Join us tomorrow evening for a party, and join us Monday night for probably an even bigger party. It's going to be a hoot. But in terms of today, it's wrestling news. We've got to talk about the Royal Rumble stuff. We'll talk about some returns coming. We'll talk about the latest for WrestleMania and what that could mean for John Cena and Cody Rhodes, who are now possibly the front runners there to work with each other at this year's WrestleMania. We'll talk about last night's SmackDown, of course. First 3-hour SmackDown on the USA Network. Big title change last night as well, and they were doing a lot of hyping up for Monday's Raw. We'll talk about last night's Wrestle Kingdom results. It's been getting good reviews overall outside of the underwhelming and somewhat boring main event. Not sure if Zack Sabre Jr. is the person to put in the same spot held by the Ospreys and the Okadas and the Kennys and shit like that. So that might have hurt him a little bit. Overall, though, still sounded like it was a good show. And Wrestle Dynasty tonight looks very good. Now, the start time tonight for Wrestle Dynasty, and correct me if I'm wrong, is 11 p.m. Eastern, only 8 p.m. here on the West Coast. Now, I'm not going to be at work, so unfortunately I won't be able to watch that, but that's a more manageable, I think, start time than maybe the Wrestle Kingdom had been. Other than that, like I said, just some SmackDown news. We'll talk about WrestleMania, and we'll talk about the Royal Rumble, and we'll preview tonight's Collision, things like that. The same type of stuff we do every Saturday here on the podcast. That is what is on the menu today. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm going to go over to the chat and say hello to whoever is here, like Harry Rice, Zane G in the house. No yeet for the Rumble in Saudi Arabia. My God, I cannot believe. I guess I can believe it. I mean, it's at some point we were going to get a major pay-per-view over there. And I've been holding out hope that they will just never get their hands on a WrestleMania. And I'm starting to think that they probably will one day, and that sucks because I don't want to watch WrestleMania at 10 o'clock in the morning. I just don't. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Also, Tatanani is here. Good to see Garrett Osborne, Max Pokebro. We got Melissa Rodrigo. We got Colin, Doug Unfunny. Tony is in the house. David Brown. Joshua Aparicio. Jimmy Anderson. Good evening, all the way from Sweden. Also, good to see Isaac. We've got Mohammed in here, and Max Pokebro. Feels like yesterday we were building a WrestleMania 40. I know. And now it's January, and it's almost time for WrestleMania 41. William Cullen is here as well. So is Hassan Terrell. We've got Luke McAllister dropping in. Very generous $10. Thank you for that, my friend. What's up, Greg? I can just about tolerate Saudi Arabia getting a Rumble, but if they get a WrestleMania before the UK, I'll be damned. Also great to see Adam Copeland receive a genius new name. Yes, we will be talking about the Copester, the Copemeister here in just a little bit. And I know that we might have even mentioned him changing his name to Cope as well, because I started noticing a lot of people were posting screenshots of their own tweets where, like, a year ago when he came in, they were suggesting that he should just change his name to Cope. So that's not like Adam Copeland pulled this out of his ass. This is something that fans have talked about, and we might have even mentioned it. I don't remember if we ever brought it up, but since so many people were saying, hey, I had this idea, I'm like, it must have been talked about on one of our streams. So it wasn't like it was super surprising, but it's just kind of weird. I think he should have came in as Cope right off the bat. Now trying to switch it now. It's not like we haven't seen this before. Guys have changed names. WWE's changed a ton of names. So it's not like it's weird, but this is kind of out of WWE's playbook. It's a Vince McMahon thing to shorten names, you know? So it's kind of funny that he's done that, but I also get it, you know? Adam Copeland, going from Edge to Adam Copeland. That's why, if you can help it, try to establish yourself under your own real name or your own ring name that you can keep. Be a CM Punk, an AJ Styles, a Samoa Joe, a John Cena, a Christian, a Bret Hart. Be guys like that. When you start turning into the Rhea Ripleys and the Roman Reigns and the Edges and all these WWE stupid-ass names, if they ever go do something with their career, they're going to have to change, you know, everything, most of what the fans are familiar with them for. So I understand the name change, but I also kind of think it's a little funny. We'll talk more about that later. And you are right. I'm with you on that one. If Saudi Arabia gets a Royal Rumble if Saudi Arabia gets a Mania before the UK, that is insanity. But I'm hoping that they're giving Saudi Arabia a Rumble now to hold off having to give them a WrestleMania in the future. Like maybe a WrestleMania will come on their next deal. Isn't the current deal like a 10-year deal, right? So maybe if they're going to strike another 10-year deal with them, that's where you put the WrestleMania and make sure you get maximum dollar for that. And then we don't really have to worry about WrestleMania being there for probably at least 4 years. Hopefully, might be sooner than that, but let's hope that's a minimum of 5 years away before that happens. And I think a Mania going to Wembley would be terrific. I'd rather see that than Saudi Arabia. I'm with you on that one. Luke, good to see JL Nice, the Psycho 45. My boy Amato is in the house. Had 4 people call out and we were slammed. About to take it edible and chill out. Tito and Elizabeth, my love, hope you are good. Of course, we're good, Amato. I hope you're good as well, my friend. Enjoy chilling. I mean, I'm hoping if you're taking an edible and chilling, I'm assuming you're no longer at work. But if you are, that just makes me respect you even more. Because there's nothing better to do at work than take an edible and chill. You know what I mean? But if you are home and you're relaxing, that's awesome. I am so ready to go to work tonight and get tonight over with because I am off for the next 3 days, which is something that I haven't seen. 3-day weekends are not uncommon for me. Neither are 4-day weekends. But I haven't seen one of these since before Thanksgiving, so I'm really, really ready to chill out myself. Hope you have an awesome one today, Amato. Sonic Plays is here as well. So is Michael Kumo. Ben Espinoza is in here. WWE fan. Mike Games version 1. Garrett Osborne. I think I got you already. Shell Shock. Damian Drain. Anybody else chiming in? Hello. Welcome. Thank you. Welcome to the Wingy. And happy Saturday to you guys. Now, because I wasn't sure if we were even going to do a podcast today, because I knew I wasn't going to have a ton of notes, luckily, we should have plenty of time to get this podcast done. My notes are not that heavy, even though I've given ourselves 2 hours here to bust this out. We shouldn't need that long because we did talk about a lot of stuff on Wednesday. We talked about what I missed on Raw last week and the SmackDown before. Now we're here to catch up on what happened last night on SmackDown and to preview this Monday's Raw. But before we do that, let's just mention a couple of more things. First, I talked about Sold Out tomorrow. We talked about Raw on Netflix. Another thing I should mention, decision was made last night. I told myself all year long that the beginning of January, first week of January, just like I did for WrestleMania 39, is when I would go online and start booking and planning my WrestleMania trip. All year long, I've just been under the assumption that I'm going to WrestleMania 41 in Vegas. And I knew that it wasn't going to be a cheap event. I've seen people talking about the ticket prices and all of that. And I'm like, okay, we'll probably just get maybe seats that aren't quite as good as last time, but we're still going to ultimately go. I was probably researching for about 5 minutes last night. And I was like, no, the ticket prices are insane. I don't, the same seats that I got us for WrestleMania 39, Elizabeth and I think I paid $1,600 for the 2-night pass for two of us, which would be about $400 per night per seat. Yeah, $400 per night per seat, $800 per night for the two of us, $1,600 total. Those same exact seats, if I were trying to get the same seats that I had at WrestleMania 39, are going for $7,000 each. So for me to repeat the experience I had in LA, I got to drop 20 G's on this trip. That ain't happening. I think I'm just going to plan WrestleMania week here on the channel again. So if you were going to go to Vegas and hoping to see me, I think we're not going to go. It's just too much of a financial irresponsibility to spend that kind of money in the next year or so. Elizabeth and I are also trying to open up a business. So, when we kind of weigh in everything, it's just like, no, I mean, why go and drop, thousands upon thousands of dollars when I could stay home and make money on YouTube? So I think instead of WrestleMania, even though I love going to shows in Vegas, I went to SummerSlam there, went to Double or Nothing there. It's a great city for wrestling. WrestleMania is just too obnoxiously expensive, and I don't have the heart to drop that kind of cash. So what I think I'm going to do instead is that we've got Revolution at Crypto Arena in LA. Also, there's an Oceanside Dynamite coming up, which is only about a 25-minute drive from me. And there's at least a Raw or a SmackDown or both here in San Diego in the near future. I believe here in January, just a couple of weeks. So between all of those shows, I'm going to try to go to one or two of those instead. And we've made the painful decision, but a smart one, to forego the WrestleMania trip this year. It's just too obnoxious. And we could get some seats and sit way up in the nosebleeds, right up at the ceiling. But sitting up there and looking at the ring from 500 yards away, or sitting right here in my comfortable chair hanging out with a couple hundred of you in the chat, I think I prefer to stay right here. So WrestleMania live in person will not be happening, and I'll probably just be going to some different shows instead. I did not realize that a WrestleMania trip was going to cost about as much as a car, and that's just not something I'm really willing to spend. So I thought I'd give you guys a little update on that. Unless something crazy changes, unless somebody drops some WrestleMania tickets in the super chat or something like that, we're not going this year. Kind of a bummer, but I'm not that broken up about it. I've made peace with it, It's the way it's got to be. So anyway, that's pretty much it for the pleasantries and what's going to be happening on the channel this week and what I'm going to be doing for WrestleMania. So WrestleMania week here on the channel, now that I've ruled out going, we're going to plan some big things. I'm going to start looking around, trying to do some videos, make it special just like we did last year. And now that I've got some time to plan this, we'll do some really, really fun stuff this year for WrestleMania. And I'm looking forward to it. And it's going to be a big one because with all the moving parts, as we're going to talk about here in a minute, with all the different potential challengers and big players involved, and still WWE just waiting around to see what The Rock is going to do, between all of those factors, there's almost no way this WrestleMania can suck. As long as they put all the pieces in the right spots and they don't stress us out the way they did last year, WrestleMania has got some potential to be even bigger than 40. So I'm hoping that it will. We'll talk more about WrestleMania in a minute. We are going to open up, though, with news about the Royal Rumble. Now, luckily, this year, the Royal Rumble is right here in the United States. We're going to be watching that together coming up on, February 1st, here in a few weeks. But next year, Royal Rumble 2026 is official for Saudi Arabia. And that is a bummer. Now, PW Insider initially reported this last night. Fightful Select followed up and confirmed it. I don't think WWE has made any formal announcements about this, but it is all but confirmed that the Rumble will be in Saudi Arabia. That's a huge disappointment. I don't like these Saudi shows. I don't like the Saudi Arabia deal. It's just all money. That's all this comes down to. And you can understand that. There's a lot of money in Saudi Arabia. They're throwing a lot of it around. And for WWE to do business with them, that really grows and helps their business, especially on the financial side of things. It's the amount of money that they can't really turn down. But just given all the controversy and stuff, and the Saudi shows have been tolerable for the most part. Like when they first started, WWE was just jerking Saudi Arabia around. They were giving them glorified house shows until Saudi Arabia smartened up, and then they started demanding some actual things happening. No, you can't just make a big Royal Rumble and give away a green belt. No, we want some actual things happening. So we started getting some title changes. We saw a couple of titles change hands over there. We got some Brock and Roman matches over there. A lot of big stuff, Goldberg matches and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the crown jewel shows are just not really that super interesting to me, but they've insisted that they become interesting, and they put some big time caliber matches on those shows, growing the importance of those shows. We have seen some great moments with the women's matches, with a wonderful moment with Sami Zayn, and some nice things that have happened in Saudi Arabia. And I'm very happy for the fans and the children there who get to experience that. But with the shadiness and the sketchiness of that fucking government, and the crown prince and all those guys and some of the fucked up shit they do and have done, it's just a tough pill to swallow. And we knew that eventually a major pay-per-view would be there, and like a big four pay-per-view. And that's what it's been inching closer to. It started out with the glorified house shows, then, big title changes, then mega matches. And then next thing you know, we're going to get there eventually. And there has been rumblings and worry about WrestleMania being in Saudi Arabia. And, as Vince used to like to say, WrestleMania just feels like Americana, and like I can imagine it in Canada. I can imagine it in the UK, no problem. Australia, even Japan, not Saudi Arabia. It's just, so it's the beginning. The Royal Rumble being there next year is going to absolutely suck. I live in the West Coast. I'm gonna have to wake up at 9:00 in the fucking morning to watch the Royal Rumble next year. That sucks. And I'm curious what that means for CM Punk. Is CM Punk going to have to bite the bullet and go to Saudi Arabia? It's the Royal Rumble. I mean, unless they write him off TV, or if he just happens to get injured, like legitly, like let's say he just rolls his ankle in, the week before Christmas and he's going to be out 9 weeks. Good, perfect. He'll be back before WrestleMania. Maybe they can fake an injury for him, or they'll just tell CM Punk, look, I know you don't like Saudi blood money covered dicks or whatever, like you tweeted The Miz that time, but you work here now. You signed up with us, and you signed up with everything that goes along with us. You can't just pick and choose what you do unless it is worked into his contract, unless when CM Punk came in, I just don't feel like he would be having that much negotiating power, knowing how he left AEW. And WWE would be just fine without CM Punk, but they had the opportunity to bring him in. I felt like they held a little bit more leverage over Punk than Punk has over them. So I would think that I'd be surprised if WWE agreed to him saying, I don't work Saudi shows, or if they agreed to it in principle and then are hoping that they can change his mind. Either way, I'm curious how this will affect Punk next year if he's healthy enough to make it this far. Now, he might be already over and done with a title run by then. I think the way it's going to go, and we're going to talk about it later, I think he's going to beat Seth on Monday. I think he's going to beat Gunther at the Rumble, and then he's going to drop the title to either Seth or Roman at WrestleMania. And if that happens, then he could win Money in the Bank and be champion again by the time we get to next year. Or, if he is champion, it's going to be one of those things where he's just going to have to go. And it might be kind of fun for them to maybe play around with this a little bit. Like the fans are going to be thinking about CM Punk all through the year until we get to Royal Rumble. So what if WWE does something, they do an angle on TV like in early January next year, where they do an injury angle with Punk. And everybody who sees this is like, they wrote him off Saudi Arabia. There we go. They've just explained that Punk isn't going to be at the Rumble. Somebody attacked him. He got RKO'd in the back or something like that, or punted, like that time he lost the title without even being in the match. So maybe something like that happens to him, and all of us are just assuming that means he's written out, and then he shows up in the Rumble. They somehow keep him hidden. He flies over there. He's unnoticed. He stays in the hotel room all fucking weekend. And then he comes out as an entrant in the Royal Rumble, maybe number 30, and wins it. That is how I would book CM Punk in Saudi Arabia next year. I would make him, or I would try to change his mind, get him to agree to work the show, but then keep the fans thinking he's not. And then he can show up as a surprise, kind of like John Cena in 2008. We knew John Cena was alive, but we didn't think he would be there, at the Royal Rumble competing, and CM Punk, we knew he wasn't really injured, but we didn't expect him to be in Saudi Arabia. I think it would be impossible for him to fly over there and remain hidden. Just feels like that would be difficult to do. So we'll see how all that plays out. Either way, Rumble in Saudi is kind of a disappointment and also makes the decision to not give WWE $15,000 of my money at WrestleMania a little bit easier this year. You know what I mean? So Rumble in Saudi 2026. Speaking of, guess who's on her way back? Any day now. Charlotte Flair. After a full year out of action, she is expected back pretty much any time. A lot of rumblings about her. Fightful Select had spoken to a handful of talent over the course of the last week who have all said that they're expecting her back at any time and probably be factored into the Royal Rumble. And WWE Creative was apparently always under the belief and assumption that she would not be competing in 2024. They basically wrote her off for the whole year. They weren't expecting her back. 2025, I guess, was the target return date for her all along. And that ties in very perfectly with another blonde one winning the championship last night on SmackDown. And we could be building towards Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. Now, on Monday, if Rhea Ripley beats Liv Morgan as she is expected to, that's going to put Tiffany and Rhea as your champions going into WrestleMania. And I'm hoping that we're looking at a Charlotte Flair, maybe Tiffany match, or Tiffany and Charlotte, or Tiffany and Becky, and Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. They did that for a reason. It wasn't the last Raw, or when was it? 2 weeks ago? Or it was a Saturday night's main event, maybe. I forgot what it was. But Ripley and Io Sky kind of had the stare down there with the championship, right? And I'm like, there you go. And then when Io Sky got put in that IC title tournament, I was like, oh shit, she's probably going to win that now. But then she got beat. She got upset by Lyra on Raw. So that's actually a good thing. I think that Io Sky is either going to win the Royal Rumble or win the Elimination Chamber and challenge Rhea Ripley. So we'll see. I think Becky and Charlotte will be Tiffany's challenger, and Io Sky will be Rhea Ripley's challenger. Whoever doesn't challenge Tiffany, if it's not Becky and it's Charlotte, I think Becky maybe goes after the IC title, maybe beating Lyra for it. Could be Lyra Valkyria against Becky for the IC, Charlotte and Tiffany for the WWE, and Rhea and Io for the world. And you got that US title there too, Chelsea Green. Who else is out there that could take that title from her? We will see. But Charlotte is expected back any day now, and that could be as early as Monday night on Raw. But I kind of want her to be on SmackDown. Now, I know the talent is going to be crisscrossing, so Charlotte could very well make her return on Monday, but target Tiffany on SmackDown. She might be more of a SmackDown person. They just might want to show her face on Monday as a nice surprise, as a nice return. We will see. I don't think I really need Charlotte coming right back in and challenging Ripley. That's what I am worried about. If Rhea Ripley beats Liv Morgan and then Charlotte comes back and wins the Rumble and challenges Ripley, well, we just got that match 2 years ago. I watched it. Rhea Ripley beat her. We had it 2 years before that in the PC where Charlotte beat her. So this would be a WrestleMania rubber match. It's just I don't want to see it. I'd rather see Ripley, quite frankly, lose to Io Sky at WrestleMania. That's what I think they should do. I think Ripley should annihilate and wipe out Liv Morgan, end that feud once and for all, dominate between now and April 20th, and drop the belt to Io Sky at WrestleMania. We'll see. But either way, Charlotte is on her way back, and we'll be seeing the Queen soon. Sounds like another match that has been heavily talked about for WrestleMania. We've heard a lot of possible matches: Punk Rollins, Punk Roman, Rock Cody, and John Cena and Cody Rhodes. Well, John Cena and Logan Paul, thankfully that's probably not going to happen, but now it appears that Cody and Cena might be the working plan. Here's what Fightful Select had to say about this yesterday. Fightful had noted for the last number of weeks that John Cena versus Cody Rhodes was the plan for 2025, but it picked up more traction today. Fightful was told that as far back as mid-November, Cody and Cena was the plan after it was indicated that The Rock's schedule was unclear for Mania. As has been widely reported, The Rock isn't currently factored into WrestleMania plans, but everybody knows that they are at the mercy of a schedule, as has been noted a number of times. Before Cody returned and won the Rumble in 2023, There were some close to him that were actually hoping the match would take place at WrestleMania 39. However, between the time Cody got hurt and returned, there are WrestleMania plans for a solid portion of the WWE roster, as well as some alternative options. So typical deal here. It sounds like, I don't like that I've ranted about this last year. I'm not going to do it again, but WWE being at the mercy of The Rock's schedule is an extremely irritating sentence to read, because The Rock, who is so busy and has so much going on, he needs to crop out a chunk of time, slice out a chunk to be available for this, or to train, or to do whatever. Why would you not know if you have availability or not yet? It's not like this is, your ex-college roommate's birthday party that you hope you can make. This is like WrestleMania. This is big time money. This is big time stuff. This should supersede any stupid fucking movie you're making. It's not like WWE's operating under the 1994 business model. This is a humongous global product here that you should want to be a part of. So if you don't want to be a part of it, just tell them. It's like, I don't know what The Rock is doing. Is he sitting around waiting to see how the storylines play out, if he would have a chance to insert himself and win the championship somewhere? Or is he staying away from this one, knowing that it's very cluttered, with Cena there and Cody and Punk back and all of that. So maybe Rock is just staying away from it. I don't know. I just wish that this story of that WWE doesn't know internally, I just think that's fucking crazy. I hope that's a narrative that they're pushing that's not actually true. I hope internally, Triple H, Nick Khan, WWE, everybody there knows from their end if Rock is going to be there or not. They already know if it's a yay or nay. If the fans aren't sure if it's a yay or nay yet, fine. I don't care. Keep stringing us along as long as you guys know. I don't care about knowing. I don't give a shit about knowing. I don't need to know. I don't need to be right. I don't need to be the first to report it. I just want you guys to have your shit together behind the scenes so you can deliver to us the best possible stories and matchups possible without having to sit around and having 9 different alternative plans while you wait for Dwayne to figure out what the fuck he's going to do. So I'm just hoping that Rock isn't there. Because if he comes back in at the last minute or something like that, like I said, if it's been planned all along, if WWE has known what they're going to do since last fucking summer, great, do it. But if Rock comes back in and he monkey wrenches this the way he did last year, that's just frustrating and annoying. There's just too much riding on the success of the show for you to be wishy-washy. And I understand that The Rock is a huge, worldwide megastar, but nobody should be able to have that type of pull or effect or stroke or whatever you want to call it. Nobody should just be able, you shouldn't have to just hang on The Rock's word. You need to tell The Rock, let us know, Dwayne, what you're going to do. So if The Rock is not factored in, Cody Rhodes and John Cena sounds like it might be the plan. Now, there's lots to think about there. If it's Cody Rhodes and John Cena, does that mean it's for the championship? It probably does. Now, I'm still holding out hope that in this ladder war, this ladder match at the Royal Rumble, Cody has got himself set up here, protected to lose the title without really losing, you know what I mean? So most fans are under the assumption that Cody will win his feud with Kevin Owens and win the ladder match. And if he is going to go into WrestleMania to face John Cena, then yes, that probably is what's going to happen. But if Cody is champion going into WrestleMania, then do you make an argument to have John Cena beat him? And I really didn't want John Cena versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. I always thought that Cody Rhodes would be the perfect opponent for John Cena's final match, like his last match ever. Now, some fans argue that should be against someone who he has a ton of history with, a Rock, a Punk, a Randy Orton, somebody like that. If Cope was around, you could throw Edge in the mix there. So I think Rock, Punk, or Randy Orton would be good for Cena's final match in terms of nostalgia or whatever. But I think if you want to do like a real full actual torch passing, and torch passing is a phrase that's been used in wrestling a lot of times, but has never actually really happened before. So a true torch passing from one similar character to another is something we would have a legitimate chance to see. And maybe that torch passing comes at the end. Maybe John Cena beats Cody for the title, holds the championship all year. That would be crazy. But if John Cena holds the title from WrestleMania to December, and he has a run like a 9-month run with it. And then, no, I don't know if that, no, you want to tell. I was about to say maybe the Madison Square Garden house show, day after Christmas, John Cena's final match, John Cena, Cody Rhodes for the championship, December 26th, Madison Square Garden. Maybe you televise it. Maybe you televise it. And Cody Rhodes wins the belt back in Madison Square Garden, the same building where his dad attempted to win the title and almost did. Hug, front and center, shake of the hand, show of respect. John Cena raising the hand of the new king. Cody Rhodes graciously exits the ring, and John Cena sits right there, dead center in the middle of Madison Square Garden with 20,000 people clapping and crying. Explain to me in the chat why that would be a bad idea. Just saying. Something like that would be nice. But for WrestleMania, Cody and Cena, I can be into that. But I think the title is another part of that. Cody Rhodes and John Cena, fans love to say this, doesn't need the championship. God, fans love to say that, don't they? And this is a match where that's actually kind of true, because Cena and Cody, I think you could arguably do that match without a championship, which means Cody could lose the championship to Kevin Owens, and you could have a big Cody and John Cena match on the marquee without the title needing to be involved, which would allow Kevin Owens to defend his championship against Sami Zayn. And then you can have CM Punk defend against either Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns, depending on what that is. And you've got some interesting champions going into WrestleMania, kind of like WrestleMania 28, right? It was 28 or 24? I think it was 28. Like it was a Punk and Danielson. It was Punk and Bryan, right? And then Sheamus won in like 10 seconds or whatever. So, maybe have a year like that where the title isn't on like the big, well, I guess CM Punk is one of the biggest stars. He's arguably the most popular outside of Roman Reigns and maybe Cody. It's kind of the three of them. So Punk would be champion, but him and Owens going into Mania as champion and having Roman, Rock, and Cena do other things, and Rollins for that matter, would be interesting. So we'll see how it all shakes out. It's fun to kind of speculate because we've taken, on the podcast and in watch-alongs lately, we've been going down every possible road. And the Randy Orton road is another one you have to think about. He got package pile drived and has been off TV. So are they waiting all the way until the Royal Rumble for him to show back up and cost Kevin Owens the match? Or does he show back up and swerve us and cost Cody the match, like I've pitched several times? Maybe the whole point of that package pile driver was to make the fans assume the next time we saw Randy Orton, he is coming for the head of Kevin Owens. And if he takes a sharp right turn and goes after Cody instead, could be a nice swerve, kind of like how Tiffany swerved us last night. So something like that would be fun. Randy Orton's got to be factored in. I really think that in terms of who deserves it, everything Seth Rollins did last year, he worked his ass off last year, especially during WrestleMania. That man deserves, and what he did the year before, putting over Cody 3 times, that man deserves his flowers. I hate saying that because he's gotten his flowers like 20 times already, but he deserves his moment. He deserves to be repaid for that. That's why on Monday, I think Rollins should lose to Punk and then win the championship at WrestleMania. I also think next time Rollins and Cody face each other, Rollins should win that. And it would be cool if a title was on the line for that match too. So there's a lot of things that I want, but you can't have it all. You can only have some of it. So you have to decide what you want. WWE has to do the same thing. And if it turns out to be Cody and John Cena for WrestleMania, would you guys prefer it for the championship or not for the championship? I'm kind of torn because I think John Cena would have to win WrestleMania. Right? Because WrestleMania is not going to be his last match. It's just going to be his last WrestleMania. So he should win his last WrestleMania. Last time he was there, he lost to Austin Theory, who sucks. So I think John Cena should win. So if it's going to be Cody and Cena and Cody goes in as champion, that means Cena's going to have to win the Rumble. Cena's going to have to win the Rumble or he's going to have to win the Chamber. But I'd like to see Punk win the Rumble or the Chamber. I'd like to see, well, actually Punk isn't going to have to. Punk's not going to have to. I was about to say, because with Cena and Punk and Rollins and Roman all in the Rumble, like only one of these guys can win. Shit, you could even chuck The Rock in there if he has a surprise appearance. But CM Punk, I'm of the belief that he's already going to be champion going into WrestleMania. I think his win over Seth on Monday is going to earn him a championship match against Gunther at Royal Rumble. And they already tested these guys' chemistry. They had a cage match in Chicago a few nights ago where Punk lost to Gunther with some help from Dominic. So they've been in the ring together, and I think that could be what the plan is in terms of Punk's path. We just don't know who his opponent will be yet or anything like that. So we will see. I'm still holding out hope. As much as I love Cody, I love him as WWE champion, I really want Kevin Owens to win the title. I know he's not. I know. He's not going to win, good Mike Rick. Yeah, I know. But I want him to. So I can at least hope. And if he does win, at least I'll be able to say, see, I didn't shut the F up for 3 months about how he should be champion. And now he is. So we will see. We will see. All right. What is next on my list here? First things first is to go to the chat and knock out these couple of super chats from you guys. WWE fan, thanks for the $5. Hey, Greg, speaking of high ticket prices, do you think WWE is going to outprice their fan base on events? That was my fear when Endeavor bought WWE. Yeah, I think some of those ticket prices now are really, really inflated. And now, I mean, those WrestleMania tickets, those are Super Bowl numbers. You know, those are like crazy ticket prices, you know? And so I think for some of those big shows, you know, it might be a little bit too much for some fans to justify paying that much money for shitty seats. You know what I mean? I mean, if I'm paying $500, $600 or $1,000 for a ticket, I expect some damn good seats for any event that I go to, much less wrestling or concerts or anything. So, yeah, that is going to be a problem. And WWE, it's kind of funny when they brag about their gate sales and, you know, all these great accomplishments. It's the highest grossing gate in WWE history. Of course it is, because you jacked the price up 20 fucking times. No shit, you got the highest gate of all time. You're shattering records that you've already set yourself because you're jacking your prices up and gouging the F out of us. And that's kind of what sucks. And it's a shame. I mean, I knew WrestleMania wasn't cheap. WrestleMania 39 was not a cheap trip for me to go to, but it was worth it because it was fun. It was a great experience. And I don't have any problem spending that kind of money. The kind of money that it would cost me to go to WrestleMania 41 and repeat that same experience. No, I'd rather buy a car. I'd rather put a down payment on a house than do that. So it sucks. It sucks. But luckily, there's lots of shows, Raws, SmackDowns, live events, other pay-per-views are a little bit more affordable and can be fun. And plus, there's also AEW, which has very affordable ticket prices. And their shows are fun. I've been very close to the ring for a few AEW events. So at least we still have that. Maybe one day we'll get back to WrestleMania and we'll all meet up there and have a party. Maybe we'll get one of those skyboxes. And we'll just all have a big-ass party in there. That's what we need to do. Chris Ludek, thank you for the $10, my friend. Happy 2025, Greg. I'm sick with bronchitis. Ouch. But your podcast helps. This week, I'll be releasing a video on my top 10 Raw closing segments ever. What are some of your favorite closing segments? Probably, I think my favorite closing segment ever might be the reveal of the Alliance invasion, or not the invasion, but the ECW and WCW alliance, when the ECW guys and WCW guys came together and turned on the WWE guys, and then Stephanie came out as the owner of ECW at the end. That ranks up there. Off the top of my head, I've got a million, but I'm excited to see what your top 10 would be. But I think that ECW WCW alliance has got to rank number one for me. Brian Adams, thanks for the 2, my friend. Cody versus Cena in December from the Garden on Saturday night's main event. There you go. It could be a Saturday night's main event final match for Cena. I don't know where WWE wants his final match to be or what kind of a setting they want that to be on, because if it's just throughout the year of 2025, it's got to come between now and December 31st. So would it be like a December pay-per-view? They didn't have one this year, right? They haven't been doing those. So a December Madison Square Garden, or a big televised Raw. It would probably be Raw, not SmackDown, probably. But maybe a TV show is going to be his final match, not a pay-per-view. Or they might, since December is an open month for pay-per-views, right? They might create a pay-per-view for him. They haven't done that in a while. And we've seen those before. DX, Rock Bottom, both of those incidentally took place in December. So maybe we could get a You Can't See Me pay-per-view. Because after that, we can't see him in the ring anymore. So maybe it's called You Can't See Me or something like that. and they just do a special pay-per-view or a special Peacock event or a special Netflix event or whatever, a PLE, and it's maybe all dedicated to Cena, like with some of his best moments. Maybe you have some matches, maybe it's like a 6-match card, and all of the matches are between people who have had history or documented history with John Cena. Maybe Randy Orton and CM Punk have a match. Who else is just still around on the roster that Cena has worked with? Roman, Ziggler's not even there anymore, but Rollins would be a good example. Rollins and Roman, guys like that. Anybody who's had Randy Orton, Rollins, Punk, anybody on the roster that has had who's exchanged titles with Cena or anything like that. I also think this year John Cena should squash Austin Theory on TV, on SmackDown, whatever. John Cena versus Austin Theory, WrestleMania 39 rematch, and the match goes 4.5 seconds. Attitude adjustment for the win. That's it. So something like that might be fun. And if you had a pay-per-view dedicated to John Cena, maybe all of those previous matches, there could be little tributes to John in there. They could do his moves or whatever. And then the final match the main event is WWE champion John Cena defending against Cody Rhodes. And he beats Cody Rhodes, passes the baton literally to him. Everything that I did and the Make-A-Wish and the, just being a stand-up representative of the company, who keeps his nose clean, who is an idol to children all over the world. He passes that baton to Cody, and it's just this wonderful moment. And then like 3 months later at WrestleMania 42, 42, Cody Rhodes turns heel. It says he used John Cena. I don't know, something like that. But there's fun that can be had if they really want to have fun. And I trust Triple H a lot more than I did Vince McMahon. Some of these fun ideas, these fantasy booking ideas we would have over the years, we knew and always knew that none of that was ever going to happen because look who's in charge. An idiot. A deranged, senile idiot. Of course we're not going to get anything fun because this jackass is in charge. Not anymore. Nah. Things are different now. So you never know. Cena and Cody at Mania, we will see. All right. So should I talk about, before we get into SmackDown, because that was a lot of fun, I want to just briefly run through some of the results from last night's Wrestle Kingdom 19. We had a great lumberjack death match, hair versus career. Tanahashi defeating Evil. And after the match, the House of Torture tried to attack Tanahashi until a hooded figure came into the ring and ran them off. Takes off the hood to reveal that it's Katsuyori Shibata. So Shibata shows up there, big oohs and ahs from the crowd. He gets on the mic, speaks in Japanese, of course, but essentially what he said was he was challenging Tanahashi to a match tonight at Wrestle Dynasty, which Tanahashi graciously accepted. They shake hands, show respect. That's really cool. So that match is taking place tonight. We had Konosuke Takeshita defeating Shingo Takagi. This was a title for title match, never open weight, and the AEW International Championship. So now Takeshita is a double champion, and that makes more sense now why he beat Hobbs at World's End. I was kind of hoping to see Hobbs win that, but now I kind of am okay with it because I forgot that he had a match here, a title versus title match, and now he's a double champion, so I'm perfectly fine with that. Yota Tsuji defeated Finlay, wins the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship, and Tetsuya Naito defeated Hiromu Takahashi. And in the main event, Zack Sabre Jr. Retained the IWGP Heavyweight Championship by defeating Shota Umino, and the fans were not kind to this match. This was a very long pay-per-view. It opened up, by the way, with Hiroki Goto winning a number one contenders match. So he'll be getting a title shot next. But when you think, of like some of the main events we've seen at Wrestle Kingdom over the last, several years, the bouts, that have featured your Kennys and your Ospreys and your Jay Whites and your Okadas and those just nearly hour-long, 45-minute long epics. You stick Zack Sabre Jr. in that same spot. I like Zack, but he's a twist you up in a pretzel type of guy, not, guy who can do really like what an Osprey does, what a Kenny does, what an Okada does, and take you on those magnificent rides that have made Wrestle Kingdoms so damn famous over the past, 7 or 8 years. So All in all, I think the show, I mean, I didn't order the show, but I saw a lot of highlights, a lot of clips, and I was trying to gauge last night because I live here on the West Coast. So I'm up, kind of watching the results as they're happening. And from what I could tell, people were enjoying the show. And it felt like a few moments last night that reminded you of how good New Japan can be when they're good. When New Japan is good and on their game, there's not a better wrestling promotion in the world, to be quite honest, but they've seen a drop off and they've lost a lot of steam and they've lost a lot of talent and they've had some of their own controversies and their own backstage crap and shit. So, it was nice to see such overwhelmingly, mostly positive comments coming out of the show tonight or last night. Like I said, outside of that main event, which was a bit underwhelming. Here's what's on tap for tonight. Now, this, for me, on the West Coast, airs at 8 p.m., 11 p.m. on the East Coast. We've got Kenny Omega returning to the ring tonight to take on Gabe Kidd. We've got Zack Sabre Jr. defending his IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Ricochet, who had a great segment on Dynamite this week. We'll talk about that in a minute. We've got another title versus title match. So I think Konosuke Takeshita and Mercedes Moné are going to both be back in AEW with 2 championships as Mercedes Moné is taking on Mina Shirakawa. This is for the New Japan Strong and Rev Pro Championship title match. So it's going to be Mercedes New Japan Strong and Mina's Rev Pro. And Mercedes is going to have, 3 belts, not 2, on Wednesday night. Most likely, unless she's there to draw. Well, shit, I could be wrong about that. She might be dropping that to Mina. Let me see. She just beat Statlander. Can somebody run in here and fuck this up? We might get a run in or something. Yeah, Mercedes will probably have 3 championships. I can see them doing that with her. The Young Bucks are back in action. I got a feeling they might win the vacant IWGP Tag Team Championships tonight as they face the Great Okan and Jeff Cobb and Tetsuya Naito and Takahashi in a, 3-way match for the vacant tag titles. And the Young Bucks seem to have kind of dropped the whole elite angle. I think that's already done, washed, ran its course. It's kind of funny how an angle involving EVPs still manages to get dropped. Nobody's safe there. So that whole thing, I'm glad it was over because the Bucks were purposely wrestling boring matches. And if they kind of came back out here to their old Bucks form, I might be into that. The streamers and the loud colors and go back to that. That might be kind of fun because the Bucks, I don't really give a shit about them right now. So if they could make me care about them again, and while they're this far into their career, last gasps here, I don't know how many more years they can have these wild tags. This would be fun for them to start making us care again and maybe come back to AEW with some tag team gold from Japan. But then again, it can't be all AEW talent going over here either. So we've got Tomohiro Ishii challenging Konosuke Takeshita for both of those championships, by the way. So I think he was at ringside last night for the Takeshita match. So I guess he was already the challenger for tonight. And I guess both championships will be on the line there. Jack Perry, here's maybe a match that AEW will lose. I mean, it feels like it could be lopsided. Now, Yota Tsuji won the championship last night, the IWGP Global. He's defending tonight against Jack Perry. Hopefully Jack Perry does not win that championship because we got to have some AEW guys losing on this show. Hopefully that will be it. Shota Umino is also taking on Claudio Castagnoli tonight, and we've got a big International Women's Cup match featuring Willow Nightingale, Athena, and a couple of champions from CMLL and Stardom. That should be interesting as well, with Athena in there, considering the run that she's been on. Also, Ring of Honor tag team titles are on the line in Japan. Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara versus the House of Torture tonight as well. And then we have a Lucha Gauntlet match, and we have Brody King versus Finley. That is kind of what's on tap for this loaded Wrestle Dynasty card tonight. I hope it's good. Unfortunately, I'm working. I'm not going to be able to see it, but I will be eyeballing them results hard at work, and I will be seeing and taking a look at as many highlights as I can tonight when I get home, because that looks like a fun-ass card, and I think that's going to go down as being a successful weekend for AEW and New Japan, putting on these 2 back-to-back pretty decent shows from what I can tell. If you did watch the show last night, let me know what you thought of it. Pros, cons, all that stuff. Ryan Adams, thank you so much, my friend. Well, hold on. Before I thank you, got a couple more before you, Ryan, before I answer that generous 20. Thank you, Joshua, for the $2. Cena versus Joe Hendry at Mania. No, I don't really believe. I need more than a song. I'm sorry. I mean, wrestling is about fun. I preach that all the time. The Joe Hendry stuff was fun. It was fun. I liked it. Song was catchy. When somebody starts building popularity, you want to see that person succeed. But I don't need him at WrestleMania against an elite top star in the business. Joe Hendry is not that to me. Joe Hendry is great for NXT. Bring him up to the main roster, see if he can get himself any more over than LA Knight. But as far as Hendry is concerned, I feel like that's his ceiling. LA Knight is his ceiling. That's as high as he'll get. I could be wrong, but that's just the way I feel. So I don't want Joe Hendry in the ring with Raw. What Joe Hendry in the ring? You don't need to be, a 5-star worker. Every wrestler does not need to be Ospreay or Angle or Eddie. I get that. But could he deliver some dramatic matches, like Mania caliber matches? No. Or maybe I just don't trust that. And I would need more than just the visual of the stadium singing Joe Hendry's song. That would be a cool Mania moment, but what would the match be like? What would he do? I don't know. I'm not really into Cena versus Joe Hendry. Zane G, what's up, man? Appreciate the $5. See, Greg, I knew you would cave in. No WrestleMania 41. So remember my last chat, I mentioned AEW Revolution. Let's do it. Yeah. If I go, we'll meet up. It's right there at Crypto. We can go and do what we did last time. I'm seriously considering that Revolution now, because that at least would be fun. It's right up the road. I can make the drive, and we can hang out at the sports complex there outside of Crypto. And I think Revolution is a possibility, Zane. I will keep you posted. I wasn't planning on caving in at Mania. I just went online last night, and within 5 minutes, I had my mind made up. I'm like, nope. I started thinking about it. I'm like, maybe there's a way. Nope. Just not a way. Not doing it. There you are, Ryan. Thank you so much, dude, for that $20 drop. I think the final 4 this year for the men will be Seth, Roman, Punk, and Cena. Punk eliminates Seth. Roman eliminates Punk. Cena eliminates Roman to win. Wild stat. Roman has been the final 2 in 5 of his 6 Rumble appearances. Yeah, he has. I like it, but like I said earlier, Ryan, I think Punk is going to be in a championship match at Royal Rumble. I don't think Punk is going to be in the Rumble. I think Punk is going to beat Seth, and then Adam Pearce is going to give Punk a title shot, because remember, when Punk beat Drew, first thing he did, not after the Hell in the Cell, I think it was the strap match, came to the ring, called out Gunther. Drew attacked, that set up their Hell in the Cell match. Punk wouldn't have called out Gunther for no reason. That was discussed. That was a scripted line. They want to plant that seed of Punk going after the championship. But then it was Hell in the Cell. Then it was War Games. Then we had December. And now it's time for the Rumble, and for Punk to be in a championship match, that's one thing about Punk that I've mentioned a few times. For Punk to be in a championship match at WrestleMania, it's probably going to be a main event, but WWE, they need to compromise there. Like, okay, Phil, we'll give you your WrestleMania main event, but you are not winning. You're going to put one of our guys over. It's been here for the last 10 years when you were gone. So, and that's a nice compromise. Punk should be perfectly fine with that scenario of him beating Rollins on Monday, then beating Gunther at the Royal Rumble. There's 2 huge wins, and then roll into WrestleMania, steamroll over a couple of guys between now and then, maybe a match on TV, go to WrestleMania to face either Rollins or Roman and lose to them. That's what should happen. I think Punk and Roman would be the more interesting match, but Rollins and Punk would make the most sense for Rollins to get his win back. So I kind of think Punk is going to beat Gunther at the Royal Rumble. And of all of those WrestleMania scenarios that we've laid out in those paths, if that happens and Punk does beat Gunther, what does Gunther do? What does Drew do? What does Gunther and Drew do at WrestleMania? There's not going to be a championship to go after, I don't think. So I don't know. I don't know what they do either. Goldberg could be an option for Gunther. Just knock that out at WrestleMania. We'll see. Off Leather Wings, appreciate the 99 cents. I'll go pick myself up a pack of gum. Terry Allen Jr., thank you for the $3. Keep the introduction theme for Raw AEW shows. Um, Talking to me, or are you talking to them? But yeah. And speaking of new themes, by the way, that I'm so excited by the Pointer Sisters new theme for AEW. Was it choice? Was it not? Now, I kind of can see both sides of the AEW Dynamite theme coin. On one hand, if you want to present a product that embodies, freshness and youth and pop culture and things like that, I'm not sure if a song that old is really a good choice, but I don't care. I like it. I was kind of getting bored with all the Raw themes for years. And plus, wrestling fans, seems like not all, but the majority of wrestling fans, especially the white boys, they have a very narrow, music genre that they like. And it's all that same kind of just rock, whiny metal rock shit or whatever they like, whatever it is, the bands that sound like Stained, so like that's always what the themes are. And WWE's tried to change it up in the last couple of themes, which I've liked the change, but I haven't really liked the themes. I just like themes with energy and that type of thing. And the Dynamite theme, it tickles me. It doesn't feel like it fits. When I watch the video package, I'm not sure if the song really has the energy. I liked Elton John better for Collision than Pointer Sisters for Dynamite, but it's also a theme that I think could grow on me. And I think it's pretty funny that, I don't know if these are little whims that Tony Khan has, if he's up late at night on his computer and he comes across a song and he thinks that would make a good intro. And since he's got all the money to buy the licensing for any song he wants, he basically has the world at his fingertips. And so he buys it and gets it and uses it for AEW. We'll see if it's just a year-long thing. It is going to be the theme going forward. So I can understand fans being like, I don't know how this is supposed to be appealing to a younger audience, but I can also understand just the bonkersness of it and appreciate the silliness of it and how funny it is. I think we should get Bop by Hanson for the Collision theme. The weirder, the better, if you ask me. So this is not something that upsets me, not yelling about it or anything like that. It's a funny, kind of a head-scratching theme, but one at the end of the day isn't going to affect business one way or the other. This is just the theme they're using. It's different. It's different. Wow. It was random as hell. It's the most random choice ever for a theme, and it's spawned a lot of copycat parodies online since then. So I found that whole thing amusing. I think a couple podcasters were yelling about it. Now, one thing they had a reason to perhaps yell about is the segment that we saw on Dynamite on Wednesday involving Jeff Jarrett, where they announced at the pay-per-view that he has a big announcement. Oh man, is he going to retire, or maybe announce a retirement match? And in the back, he's talking to Karen and Sonjay and them, and he's got his boots with him. Are you sure you want to do this? And so you can tell it's bullshit, right? So, it's like if he was going to retire, he wouldn't be randomly, impromptuly announced in the middle of Dynamite, So he's out there, and he did the whole thing, where when Hogan was trying to decide if he should sell the belt to $1 Million Man in like 87. And man, all the money he offered me, it would set me up for life. And I just have to tell the $1 Million Man, hell no. And so stupid. So Jarrett does the same thing. Yeah, nobody is falling for this. I'm watching this like literally during the jerk off motion with my hand. Like, hurry up, Jeff. Tell us that it's all bullshit. He does. He goes, hell no, I'm not retiring. As a matter of fact, I just signed a new AEW deal. Now, we don't know if that's legit or not. I've not seen any websites or, any of the news sites report on that deal, if it's legit and what the terms are, but it might just be storyline. He might not have signed a new deal, or maybe in storyline, he signed a year-long deal, or maybe he signed a 6-month deal where he wants to have one more go at it. And he said that he wants to be AEW World Champion. And the wrestling world collectively shit their pants. Kind of rightfully so. I've never been a Jeff Jarrett fan. I've warmed up to him in recent years because he's kind of cleaned his life up a lot, and some of the interviews and the podcast he's done. And he went back to work for WWE, went to the Hall of Fame, mended those fences. And I just appreciated, his accountability, his honesty, and how he turned out, because I was never a big fan of his back in the day. Never loved him as a pro wrestler, never disliked him. I think the Jarrett family name is tremendous, but he was just never one of my favorites. He never stuck out to me. I was more of a Brett and Owen, a Shawn guy than I was a Jarrett guy. And then in the Attitude Era, he was dwarfed by the larger than life personalities of The Rock and Stone Cold and Undertaker and Foley and even Triple H. And then when he left WWE under those weird circumstances there in 1999, jumped to WCW with his friends Russo and Ferrara and won the championship there. But in their dying days, I think he saw that World Championship gold was only going to be possible in WCW because WWE was on top of the world in 99 and they had all the talent there. So him going to WCW was the only way he was going to be able to add World Championship gold to his legacy. And a lot of people feel like it was kind of manufactured over there. He didn't win because he was the most over guy. He won because that's just who they put over. And he won the championship there. And then when WWE bought WCW, Vince fired him and Lex Luger right there live on air. And that was your indicator there that, oh, Vince holds a grudge and Jeff Jarrett's never going to be back. So what did he do? Created his own wrestling company and booked himself to be champion, which is not uncommon if it was the territory days. Everybody did that. Everybody did that. So it's not uncommon if it would have been 20 years earlier, but now it's like the mid 2000s. And I thought that he tried to make himself Triple H, because Triple H at the time in WWE married Stephanie, all of the backstage talk about how much pull he has and how he's bulletproof and he's untouchable. He can do whatever he wants and he can refuse to put people over and the reign of terror and all of that shit, right? Jarrett was essentially doing the same thing in TNA. This is a guy that, part owner or whatever his role was. I can't remember how it was actually founded with the Jarretts and then transferred ownership several times, Dixie to other people. But he was also always like a major player there. And he was could pretty much call his own shots. So he booked himself to be a 27-time fucking world champion over there, winning all the time, beating, a lot of, the great stars that we still see on TV to this day. And he got a lot of heat for that. And I understand. That's why I never really gave a shit about TNA, because why would I with him there? And even though he had a couple of good matches and he's a good worker and everything, it's just like none of that was very appealing to me. I think the only thing that caught my attention over there during that time was that very weird situation, that real life situation with Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett, trading wives, like Karen leaving, or Karen and Kurt breaking up, and then Karen getting with Jeff Jarrett. I can't remember if that was an affair or what, or if it was an amicable split and then she started dating Jarrett, but then they started working together on TV and making the whole thing an angle, like Luger and Savage did with Elizabeth, like Matt and Edge did with Lita. So things like that I found kind of interesting and juicy. But outside of that, I always rolled my eyes whenever I read online that Jeff Jarrett has won yet another championship in TNA. But, with all those feelings about Jeff, I never had any feelings of hate towards him at all. He was just not somebody that I personally cared too much about as a wrestler, but still had respect for him, still remember the Double J character and a lot of things that he did, tag teaming, winning championship gold with Owen Hart, and all of the wonderful things he's had to say about Owen and his memory since his death. There's a lot about Jeff Jarrett that I do respect, so I never really had any hate for him, but he wasn't just one of my favorites. But over the past few years, he's grown on me. And when he came into AEW, we all rolled our eyes at that signing, but then he was doing extremely entertaining things and doing it well. So it's not like he's out there like Ric Flair, who incidentally wants to have another match, by the way. I think I'd rather watch a koala bear fuck a sloth. But Flair wants to do that. Jarrett's not Flair. Jarrett is still in somewhat decent shape. Does anybody else find it ironic that he kind of looks like Mike Graham? That he broke 10,000 guitars, never do a dime. He's starting to look like that guy now. He's old, but he's still in shape and he can still work. And I don't mind seeing him on AEW TV. I don't mind it. I thought I was going to mind it when they signed him, but then once he started getting on TV, he was entertaining as all hell. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm cool with Jarrett being there. And I'm still cool with Jarrett being there. I don't think I'm cool with him winning the championship. And here's the thing. He absolutely, definitely could. I would put nothing past Tony Khan. And for the fans the bad faith fans are immediately going to jump and talk about how fucking idiotic this would be. Google ECW barely legal 1997. I'll wait. Once you're done with that, watch the pay-per-view. I'll wait. Watch that main event. Watch how that whole thing unfolds. And just tell me what would be so bad if AEW went full barely legal with Jeff Jarrett. And he had a 1-month run just as a little send-off, Tony Khan, a promoter with the ability to show some respect to a retiring legend. lets him have a cup of coffee with his championship as a thanks for the memories type of thing. I could absolutely see Tony Khan doing that. Do I want that to happen? Do I think it should happen? No, it should not. If it did, I would tolerate it. I would understand, but I would not do it if I was Tony Khan. But knowing Tony Khan is the type of guy who will use, I'm so excited by the Pointer Sisters for a Dynamite intro. Let's not sit here and pretend this guy putting Jeff Jarrett, the title on Jeff Jarrett would be something that would be above him. No, he would absolutely do it. And so we have to hope that he doesn't, but he might. And I think, like, I'm always glass half full. So, of course, fans are going to just collectively shit themselves. They're going to not think about it at all. They've already decided that this would suck. So I think no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try to make this good, fans are going to hate it regardless. But if you really do book it in a super fun, crazy, bonkers way that is a good way to highlight how fun pro wrestling can be, and don't book it in a shitty way like David Arquette winning the title by accident. Like, book it in a way where Jarrett really wins. You take the fans on a ride to where you actually get the crowd hoping that he's going to win. And when he wins, he gets the pop of a lifetime. Now you got the championship on Jeff Jarrett. And will he be the only guy to hold the WCW title? I mean, technically Jericho, but Jericho doesn't really count. I don't count Jericho. Winning the WCW title in WWE does not count. I'm sorry. So I think Jarrett would be the only guy in AEW, right, to hold, or the only guy in wrestling to hold the AEW championship and the WCW championship. Asterisks by Jericho, even though I don't really think that counts. But that would be wild. So I don't necessarily want to see this. I don't think we should see it. I think AEW's got enough problems right now. Taking a risk like that, if they were riding high, they could maybe afford to do this. And for the fans who hated it, it would be over with before they even had a chance to be mad about it, you know? But with everything else going on in AEW right now, I don't know if that's advisable. And apparently he is going to be in the Casino Gauntlet match, I think, next week, or he might be. I don't know if that was announced or not. But if he is in that, the winner of that on Wednesday gets a championship shot at their Maximum Carnage show, which is in a couple of weeks, which I think is in Tennessee. So if they did it that fast, he beats Moxley in Tennessee, wins the championship, and then drops it right back to him the following week. I don't know, something like that. If it was like a week-long run, I'd be fine with it. I would actually be fine with Jarrett winning the title in a Terry Funk, ECW, barely legal, 1997 type of way, and then dropping the belt a week later. Like, in the context of a week, what's the harm? You know, weeks just fly by in pro wrestling. There's 52 of these fucking things a year. So, in multiple shows. So, if 1 week is dedicated to a world title run by Jeff Jarrett, is it worth, vein bulging anger over? No. Jeff Jarrett winning the title, holding it for 6 months. Yeah, I'm going to stop watching wrestling. So, we'll just have to see how that happens and how that goes down. What I'm hoping this turns out to be is Jeff Jarrett just giving it one last run, one last go. Maybe earning a championship shot, and whoever he faces, whether it's Moxley or Darby, whoever's champion when that happens, he gives them the match of a lifetime, but ultimately loses. And then that's his send-off. I actually thought during his speech on Wednesday that maybe Dustin Rhodes would attack him from behind and set up a retirement match, because they've had feuds in WWE and WCW. Finishing up in AEW would be kind of fun. Also, we saw on Wednesday Adam Copeland in the main event, debuting his new name, Cope, which a lot of people are coping with. And I'm actually fine with it. It's just a little lame and silly sounding, but it does make sense. And a lot of fans, like I said earlier, they were screenshotting their own tweets over from last year where they were saying he should just go by Cope. He should just go by Cope. Now he's going by Cope. I think he should have gone by Cope all along, but that's what they're going to try to do now. So we were doing it on the watch along. I think I was just chatting with you guys in the chat when Copeland and FTR were making their entrance. So I didn't even notice the graphic. You guys were saying in the chat, he's going by Cope now. I'm like, oh shit. Didn't even notice that. So he's going to be Cope, rated R superstar Cope. Cope, Edge, 4 letters, 1 syllable. I get it. I mean, maybe him and FTR was it. So what is it? Cash and Dax? It could be CDC, Cope dash Dax. No, wait. Cope, Dax, Cash. The CDC, something like that. But he's going by Cope We will see how that gets over. I loved the segment on Dynamite with him and Big Bill. That was so good. That was fun. It was so nice not to have Jericho there for that, wasn't it? Because Jericho would have just ruined it. So to have that segment and for Edge to look at Big Bill and say, "You've got a stupid face," and then for Big Bill to be like, "Seriously? Does he not see?" And I've always said that Big Bill looks like just a giant version of Edge. I've always said that. So that was really fun. I enjoyed that. Thoroughly enjoyed the angle with Ricochet scissoring Swerve to death. Not the kind of scissoring that the Acclaimed does, but this is real, actual human scissors that he took to the head of Swerve. And I think a lot of people sold their stock on Ricochet too early because that was a great, great piece of business. I think it would be funny if Ricochet started going by Trevor. He should just be going by Trevor. He looks like a Trevor. Next week, we've got that Casino Gauntlet match. Winner gets a title shot at Maximum Carnage. We got Kenny Omega booked for the show as well. And MJF will make an appearance. I mentioned Dustin Rhodes earlier. He did sign a new AEW deal, by the way, so he will not be going to WWE to confront his brother anytime soon. He is sticking around in AEW, still going strong at age 92 or whatever Dustin is these days. Right on. All right, that leaves us with SmackDown. We got to talk about that. Jesus. Such a big part of the show, and I'm just now getting to it. Doug Unfunny, is one of the mods blocking you? I hope not. I can see your comment, so that means you're not blocked. I have no idea. If any of you mods are blocking Doug Unfunny, don't do that. Terry Allen, thank you for the $2. You. Okay, me. Oh, my intros for my Raws. Oh, yeah, I think I plan on keeping those intact. Raw's got a little bit of a new look too, but for the most part, that'll be close to the same. All right, let's talk about last night's SmackDown, the first 3-hour SmackDown on USA Network. And we knew they would have to do something kind of major here because Raw's big debut on Netflix is in a couple of days. So you knew they weren't going to just phone in a show here. And we might even get a little bit newer of a look, perhaps. And we did something very interesting on SmackDown. Now has a dark blue, not Boise State blue, a little bit lighter than that. A little bit lighter than my shirt, too. A blue mat. Like before, it was light blue. Now it's a darker blue ring mat, which I liked. I've been dying for WWE to do shit with the ring mats for decades upon decades, and they never have because Vince McMahon just has a stick up his ass about that type of stuff and never wanted to do it. And apparently before SmackDown, there was a picture floating around of a different ring mat with sponsorships all over them. One of them was like the Riyadh season in Saudi Arabia. One of them was for Hulk Hogan's beer, his shitty fucking beer that I'll never drink ever in a million years. Give me Broken Skull IPA all day. Before that, piss water that Hogan is selling. And a bunch of other ads. And so I think that's going to be what the Raw ring is going to look like. I think maybe those sponsors, those sponsorships on the ring mat was for Raw. Maybe they were unveiling that to take some photos. I don't know. But SmackDown is going to have like a dark blue mat, and Raw's ring mat should look different. It probably won't be red. Not sure how that would work. It'd be fine, but it would be weird. But sponsorships will probably be on the ring mat for Monday Night Raw, so that's interesting. Cody Rhodes opened up last night's SmackDown, and he was interrupted, by Drew McIntyre. And Drew starts, kind of running his mouth, telling Cody a bunch of lies, which Cody immediately does not tolerate, and he sees right through everything, not buying his shit, and just challenges him to a match instead. But Drew insists that he's not here to hurt him, and as he's starting to leave the ring, he tells Cody, he goes, "Cody, you need to watch your back." And as soon as he says that, Cody is blasted from behind by Kevin Owens. There's a big brawl. Officials run down to pull him apart. So more of the build for Cody and Kevin Owens' big ladder match at the Royal Rumble, like I talked about earlier with Cena and Cody and all of the plans for WrestleMania. I would love it if Kevin Owens won the championship. I would hate for him to go through all of this again just to lose this program, just to lose this feud. I really think if you put Kevin Owens through all this, he needs to win the championship. When is he going to win it if he doesn't win it here? It's like, to me, I feel like he's like the Detroit Lions. He's finally, on this run where I feel like it's now or never for him. And it's now or never for the Lions as well. They better win the damn Super Bowl this year, because if they don't, I don't think they ever will. I just don't. How can you fucking 14-2? They finish this year with 2 losses and go into the playoffs with a home field and they lose. Can't happen. And I just don't want to see that happen to Kevin Owens either. So I would love for him to win the championship, but I'm one of the only people that really is saying a lot about that. I think most people are just operating under the assumption that Cody Rhodes is going to win and retain. But it's a ladder match. You can protect Cody. You can protect him in a ladder match. But I feel like if he faces Cena at WrestleMania, he should lose to him, because Cena and Cody should be like a baton passing match. But Cena is going to wrestle way beyond WrestleMania. So if you do Cena and Cody now, I feel like it's got to be for the championship, and Cena's got to win, and then maybe loses to Cody in his retirement match. That's what I would do there. But it just depends. If Cody loses the title, then him and Cena can just do, a big marquee match, but he's probably going to retain, most likely, against Kevin Owens. But we still have a whole month until the Royal Rumble. Maybe fans will start seeing it my way. We'll have to wait and see. Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Andrade. This is kind of like an eliminator match, basically. It wasn't very long. I hated that Andrade had to lose that fast. But after the match, after Andrade lost with to the Kinshasa, LA Knight came down to the ring, attacked Nakamura, and vows to win back his championship. So sounds like Nakamura and LA Knight are headed for another battle to either blow off this feud or for LA Knight to win his belt back. But that would be some hot tatering that I wouldn't understand quite the point of. Nakamura coming back after all that time off, winning the championship, holding it a month, dropping it and leaving, or dropping it and then just going back to doing nothing, would be weird. Michin defeated Piper Niven one-on-one. Michin is gearing up for her championship match against Chelsea Green. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it's going to happen soon. And then we had a Paul Heyman promo where Heyman came out. He talked about Solo Sikoa's rise through the bloodline and how him and Roman Reigns were always training him to become the new tribal chief one day, but then he turned out to be a sick son of a bitch. And Solo Sikoa then comes out and adds, not really a stipulation, but talks about his match with Roman on Monday, and he tells Paul Heyman, he brings up the CM Punk favor, so they're still reminding us of that. And Solo says, I got a favor of my own. If Roman Reigns beats me, then I will acknowledge him and put the Ulafala on his, or you will put the Ulafala on his neck, and I will acknowledge him as the tribal chief. But if I beat Roman, you basically will become my permanent wise man. You will acknowledge me. You will belong to me. I will own you. So that feels like if there was any slight chance that Solo Sikoa could beat Roman Reigns on Monday, that ended any of that. Now, I do believe, right? Now, I didn't see a clip of this, but I've heard some folks talking about it. I think CM Punk and Rollins has been confirmed for the main event of Raw on Netflix, and that's big news. That's big news because that makes it easier to maybe predict how these matches are going to go. And there's no fucking way that Roman Reigns is going to lose a mid-card match on the first Raw on Netflix. That is not happening. I think Tribal Combat opens the show. Either that or Liv and Rhea. But I think if Roman's not closing, he's opening. So Roman Reigns opening up the show, Tribal Combat with Solo Sikoa, and he beats him to open Raw. Then maybe you do McIntyre and Jay. Then you do Ripley and Morgan. I don't know what other matches they've got planned for Raw. I mean, it's probably a 3-hour show, so that's only 4 matches. You could definitely squeeze one in there somewhere, maybe a tag match or something, and a whole bunch of backstage stuff. But yeah, Roman and Solo may open up the show, and maybe there's still a swerve to be had there that we're not seeing. Maybe The Rock shows up, maybe Paul Heyman turns. I wouldn't want to see Paul Heyman with the bad bloodline though. I want to see Paul Heyman with Roman. That's just who I'd prefer to see him with. So if you wanted to turn Heyman heel, you could, but I don't even know why you would need to. You can worry about that when the CM Punk stuff comes around. If Heyman's going to do any sort of turning, I think it's going to be with CM Punk, not with Solo Sikoa. So any Paul Heyman turn that they might do, I think would be saved for whenever Roman and Punk align, because that's going to put Paul Heyman in an interesting spot. That's why this stipulation of Heyman permanently being with Solo after this. I'm like, well, that's not going to work, because if you do wind up getting Roman and Punk, you want Heyman in that mix. You want Heyman in the middle there, because that's going to really help make that issue more interesting. So to me, there's never been more of a guarantee about the outcome of a match than there is about Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa on Monday night. DIY and Motor City Machine Guns had a tag team title match that ended in a no contest last night when Los Garza wound up, they've had an issue last couple of weeks with Pretty Deadly. It involved some lying and some fibbing going around that Aldis was not happy about. And I guess the two teams were brawling in the backstage area. That spilled into the ringside area and into the ring and wound up just kind of discombobbing the match. And it was ruled a no contest. So I'm sure MCMG will get another title shot at some point. And then this was such a great piece of business. I loved every fucking moment of this match, or these matches, I should say. First one is Nia Jax defending her WWE Women's Championship against Naomi. Now, Candice LeRae is out there backing up backing up Nia. Bianca Belair is out there backing up Naomi. So they're having the match, and Tiffany Stratton, her music hits. She comes running out there with the briefcase. Now, we know what they've been building towards. We know at some point Tiffany is finally going to cash in on Nia Jax. And Nia Jax has been, pretty abusive of Tiffany, so they've been really hammering that home. You have to be, fucking Helen Keller could figure this out. So we knew that was coming. But the way they swerved and double swerved you here was so brilliant. So Tiffany comes out. She comes running out there. Fans are losing their mind. She's got the briefcase, and she goes over to cash it in, but then Naomi is kind of coming through the ropes or leaning through the ropes, and she takes the briefcase and nails Naomi. Naomi falls back into the ring. Nia Jax gets up, hits Naomi with the Annihilator, and pins her and retains the title while Tiffany is laughing, and we got fooled. She faked a cash in to help Nia win, and you could see the disappointment on the fans' faces. If there was reactors on YouTube, I'm sure they were doing the same thing. Oh, this same old shit. Are you kidding me? They're still dragging their feet on this. And then Nia Jax is celebrating. And I think, let me see. She hit the Annihilator. She won. She's celebrating. Candice is celebrating, and Tiffany with Nia Jax. And then Nia Jax goes back up on the ropes. I can't remember if she was going on the ropes to celebrate or if she was going to hit Naomi with another Annihilator. I think she was just going up on the second rope to celebrate. And then Tiffany nails Nia Jax with the briefcase. Now the fans lose their mind. Now they see what's going on. Candice LeRae can't believe it. Tiffany takes out Candice LeRae with the briefcase. Bianca then goes from behind Nia Jax, who's on the top rope still after being hit with the briefcase. She picks her up in KOD position. KOD's Nia Jax in the ring. Tiffany then grabs Bianca, throws her across the announce table to get her out of the way. Then Tiffany officially cashes in. She climbs to the top, hits her prettiest moonsault with an awesome camera angle. They changed a couple camera angles last night too, which I liked. Dynamite did that too, which I liked. Hits the moonsault, pins Nia Jax, and wins the women's championship. I absolutely love that she came out there to tease a cash in, only to help Nia win, only to then cash in on her. That was a nice up and down where you could see the fans get excited, get disappointed, and get excited again. Those make for the best segments. And congratulations to Tiffany Stratton, new WWE Women's Champion. That's huge. She won the title in an epic way there. It's going to go down, in my mind, as one of the best cash-ins ever. Cash-ins are always fun. Everybody loves a cash-in, but this one was one of the better ones they've done because it did kind of fool you, and it made you think they were going to do the same old shit, and then they hit you in the face with a swerve. Loved all of it. Congrats to Tiffany. And she wins that championship just in time for you-know-who to make her way back. Charlotte Flair. So, congrats to Tiffany. Hopefully, I'm assuming she will take the championship now into WrestleMania and probably drop it to Charlotte. Probably drop it to Charlotte, as much as I hate to say it. The main event last night was the Bloodline defeating the OG Bloodline. So it was Solo and the Tongans defeating Sammy, Jimmy, and Jay. We had a Samoan Spike to Jey Uso for the win. which made me wonder what's going to happen to Jay on Monday. Jey Uso is facing Drew McIntyre on Monday, right? So that's another match we have on Monday that I think I forgot about. So Jay and McIntyre is supposed to be on Raw unless they've dropped that match. Is Jay going to lose twice? Because I just thought McIntyre would beat Jay on Monday, but here he took the spike from Solo. So Drew and Jay on Monday, Jay's going to get beat twice in the course of a couple of days, unless the spike doesn't put him at 100%, kind of protects him a little bit if he loses to Drew. Plus, I don't know, Cody, it's very possible that Cody shows up and nails Drew or something and allows Jay to beat him. But if I was Cody, I would just mind my P's and Q's. He's got enough to worry about with Kevin Owens right now. Poking Drew, could be interesting. And that maybe that's some teasing they're doing here. Why would Drew confront Cody? If Cody is going to be wrestling Owens at Royal Rumble and Cena at Mania, maybe they're setting up a Elimination Chamber championship match or something between Drew and Cody. Or does this have bigger implications? Is this a way to get an issue started between Cody and Drew? So Drew then shows up and costs Cody the match against Owens in the ladder match. Maybe that's what's going to happen. I still think Randy Orton's going to be involved in that, but maybe it could be Randy Orton and McIntyre. We've seen that before, but they could go in that direction as well. But Randy Orton's going to have to work with somebody, either Owens or Cody. And I would hate to see Randy Orton come back after that pile driver to attack Kevin Owens, and then the two of them just set up a Mania program. Okay, I'm sure the match will be good, but there's no championship on the line. It's just personal animosity and hate. And while that can be often fun at times, something like that could almost get lost in the shuffle of the, meganess of WrestleMania. So I don't know. There's a lot to be excited about WrestleMania, and there's a little bit to be nervous about too, because I want everybody to be doing good things, but not everybody can be champion. So if not everybody can be champion, the people who aren't going to be champion, take them and make them do significant shit or something fun or good or dream matches or anything like that. However you can formulate the best card is what I hope they do. Ryan Adams, Drew is moving over to SmackDown. Also, Sammy is moving over also. That's right. Drew did say that last night. He was talking. He doesn't know how that transfer portal shit works any better than I do. I don't even know how the college one works. I wasn't even aware that you can transfer now and there's a 12-team playoff. I'm so out of the loop in that. So McIntyre in his promo last night, I think kind of forgot what it was called, didn't he? And Sammy is moving over also, but he's still booked for Monday though, isn't he? Isn't Drew still booked for Monday or against Jey Uso? So, okay. Maybe it's Sammy. It's Sammy who might get involved, because I have a really hard time believing that Jey Uso is going to take 2 straight pins on Friday night and Monday night. Drew has been attacking Sami Zayn a lot too. So Sammy will probably maybe help Jey Uso win on Monday. And then Drew will leave and go to SmackDown permanently. That's maybe what's happening. Yeah, when Charlotte comes back, we're going to have to relive all of those bad feelings from the fans. They don't like Charlotte. It's going to be tough to accept her. It's going to be funny to see if she comes back, a heel, or if they try to make her a babyface. She's been gone over a year, though, so I hope fans have lightened up a little bit, and it's not like she's been the Charlotte of the past. Last time she wrestled a big WrestleMania match, she lost. She lost the title to Rhea Ripley. So it's not like she's always put over everyone. She always wins. She calls all the shots and all those things that fans like to tell themselves and make themselves believe. It's not true with Charlotte. She's not going to be able to come in and just say, this is what I want. This is what I demand. Charlotte's great and everything, but WWE, as we've seen, can run just fine without her. So she's got no business making any crazy fucking demands. WWE should use her how they want to use her, not how Charlotte wants to be used. So that's that would be my advice for Charlotte and WWE. Gunther and Cody could be switching shows. Yeah, they could. Well, shit, I think Gunther is going to get the title shot, though. I think Gunther's going to work with Punk, excuse me. But Gunther and Cody going back to Raw, Gunther going to SmackDown. I could see that. I could see that as well. Yeah, I don't think the Nepo baby really works that much for Charlotte. I mean, Ric Flair, obviously, he's a legend, but he's a dumbass. You know, what do they, why do they, would WWE even care about keeping Ric Flair happy? We got to employ his daughter just because she's Ric Flair. Fuck Ric Flair. You know, Charlotte has talent. Charlotte is a great wrestler. I mean, she's not as bad as everybody thinks that she is, the way they make themselves believe. Same reason with John Cena, same thing they did with Roman Reigns. When you get mad about someone winning too much, then you turn it personal on them and you start concocting all these scenarios in your head and these assumptions. And it's really not like that. You know, Charlotte gets put over a lot. WWE's use of Charlotte was puke-inducing. 100% agree with that. But the way the fans transfer that right onto her, like she's walking in there refusing to lose to anybody, and what I say goes, I'm the queen. It isn't like that. You know, I know you want to think that it is, but it's not. I don't like that Charlotte was winning all the time, but those days are probably over. She's going to win the championship again. She's going to break her dad's record. She's still going to have, you know, a little bit of a run, but her being the only thing in the women's division is not the universe we're living in anymore. If you haven't noticed, there are 4, count them, singles championships now in the women's division. There were only 2 last time Charlotte was there, only 1, you know, a few years before that. So when Charlotte got there, you know, it was just the Divas title. Then it split to 2. And now they have 4. So Charlotte coming back, you know, it's a different division. You know, Charlotte was the crown jewel, the centerpiece of the new era of women's wrestling in WWE. She was the best they had. She was. Now we're seeing a lot of great women coming through NXT and getting opportunities and stuff. And it's just, you know, if Charlotte wins, don't just automatically think that's because she told Triple H she's going to win. I know fans really want that to be the case, but it just doesn't add up. It's just not reality, you know? So when it comes to people being booked too much, sure, every top star has a say in what they do. John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who famously took his ball and went home, Hulk Hogan, you know, Shawn Michaels, all of these guys stepped on countless amounts of throats. So we have to stop pretending that the freshest person in your mind, the one that you currently in the moment hate the most, is the only one there's ever been. You know, it's just logic. That's all I'm asking. So when Charlotte comes back, it should, for all of us, be much easier to tolerate her because she's not dominating TV. If she's a world champion, great. She's a world champion on one show with a couple of other women's champions over there. So she's not the only thing, and she's not the only thing that matters. So we'll see when she comes back, hopefully that being proven, that she won't be on SmackDown and then Raw and then SmackDown and Raw, and she's on both shows every week. If they do that, then yes, of course, enough's enough. But if Charlotte just comes back to be a women's wrestler on one of the brands and to win a championship here or there because she's already a highly decorated world champion who's not near retirement age yet, why wouldn't she be involved in those things? So fans have got to just know the difference between somebody being shoved down their throat and just winning a match. So if Charlotte's been gone for a year and then she comes back and in a couple of months, she wins the championship, that's not weird. That's not being overbooked or shoved down her throats or anything. That's a decorated Hall of Fame caliber champion coming back to the company, resuming their spot on the roster. That's all that is. So I think fans just need to cool it a little bit with the nonsense and just stop freaking out. Charlotte's going to come back. She's going to win some matches and the world will just keep on spinning. I promise. I promise, everybody. So don't worry about Charlotte too much. If she's there, she's there. Who cares? There's a bunch of women there and a bunch of champions. And there are some fresh matchups. We could get Charlotte Flair and Jade Cargill down the line. And Jade Cargill will probably be coming back soon. Naomi's going to be revealed as the one who attacked her, and we'll see how that all shakes out. And if Charlotte is on SmackDown, she could maybe get mixed up in that a little bit because Charlotte and Naomi are homies, right? So maybe Charlotte can come back as a heel to team up with Naomi to take on Bianca and Jade and win the tag team championships from them. That'd be one way to get the belts off those two. Put them up against a team formidable enough to beat them. Charlotte and Naomi would qualify in that. Hell yeah. So Charlotte and Bianca kind of cancel each other out. And I think Naomi's better than Jade. So maybe they do that. So what if Charlotte comes back and forms a heel tag team with Naomi? That wouldn't be shoved down our throats, would it? We will see. We will see. All right. Well, I have reached the conclusion of my notes. I should let you guys know what's on Collision tonight. Here we got Toni Storm taking on Deonna Purrazzo, Mark Briscoe challenging Daniel Garcia for the TNT title, Private Party defending their tags against Action Andretti and Lio Rush, and the Learning Tree versus Rated FTR. So that's 2 6-man matches in a row for Rated FTR. You got to think trios gold are in their future. That's for sure. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Let me just make sure I have not missed any super chats. The Juliet, did I thank you for that? She gifted out a commentaries membership to Colin Wright. Thanks for hooking up, Colin. Colin's a good dude. I think Colin hates Charlotte, but he's still a good dude. Thank you for always doing that, Juliet. You are the best. Yeah, Charlotte or Juliet, I forgot when they pulled that trick with Charlotte beating Ronda when she came back, and we don't have Ronda there anymore. And those days are kind of over now. It's just a different looking division. So I think I would like Charlotte to be brought back in to do things that are interesting, not things that are viewed as burdens by the fans. Shit, we got to deal with Charlotte. I would like her to come back and have a feud that I'm interested in, or a program that I'm interested in, or a match that I'm interested in. Not just coming back doing the same old Charlotte shit. And after being out for a year, she's back 2 weeks and she's already bored us to death. So we need hopefully more and some interesting things happening with Charlotte. And I'm holding out hope that we actually get that. Anyway, you guys have a great rest of your Saturday night. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy Collision tonight. Enjoy Wrestle Dynasty if you wind up watching that. And remember, this is the first of 3 days of streaming here. We're going to be back tomorrow night to watch WCW Sold Out 1998, Bret Hart's first match in WCW. It's a pretty interesting looking card. So we're going to be here tomorrow night to watch that together. And then on Monday night, it's the big one. Monday Night Raw, Netflix, Roman Solo, Punk and Rollins and Ripley and Morgan and Jay and Drew. And we have John Cena on the show. We might see The Rock show up. It depends. There's a lot going on Monday, and we will be here to watch that together. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this afternoon, and I will catch you guys tomorrow night for WCW Sold Out. Peace.